Bro, this is Shanghai. We brought you home. Oh, it's right there. Spiderman. What did you say? What did you say? What did you say? What did you say? Can you say? What did you say? So I've been in Korea now for 1 month and I wanted to review a bit to see how I've changed. I will actually go month by month. I got my laptop. I've been documenting everything, making a bunch of notes. Usually in order to be able to journal, I just log everything in a calendar and I make notes based on that, usually using Obsidian or Notion. For example, I made a note called Korean Impressions. So I'm gonna first start with this. Here's where I write the things that shocked me or the cultural differences or things that are going to change in my existence because of what I've seen here. First of all is the ads for plastic surgeries everywhere. They have a very, very, very specific type that they like here for humans. Straight hair, having bangs, basically looking like a K-pop star. And I've seen this happen with all the jobs I had here. For my first month, I had 2 jobs, which is not bad comparing to how most of the models work here. So I'm kind of grateful for this, but it's definitely very bad comparing to what I could do in Europe, money-wise, career-wise. I've done big brands here. I had a good, big Korean brand. I work with New Balance. And I can see I mostly get castings for brands that are, let's say, Western, so they can deal with darker skin and curly hair. I actually don't care, to be honest, just because I'm here just to do my work, but let's say not that inclusive. And you see a lot of hate towards European markets, you know, only pick white models. But it's actually the same in Asia. Nobody says anything about this, it's just a standard. And I made a very important note here that actually came out to not be true. And this is gonna be something very important for the way I feel right now. People respect other people more than themselves. I saw this during my flight because there was a woman that had a baby and she didn't sleep for 10 hours just to make sure the baby won't cry, always speaking to him, always, I don't know how this is called in English. And this was the biggest cultural shock to see how polite people are, how much you have to say thank you using your physically, you literally have to bow. This is fake as shit when it comes to business. I don't want to generalize, but I had such a bad experience here. I mean, I'm working, I still make some money, but the way they deal is so not professional. For example, one of my friends here, he's from Dominican Republic. They scammed him so much with rates, with the way they push him for jobs, fake expenses that didn't exist. You have to pay this for your visa, you have to do this, that. Literally, his grandpa was dying, and in the end, he died. The guy was asking, please let me go home so I can just see my grandpa one more time and be there for my mom. And the agency was like, actually, not. We won't do this. And they only did so after the guy got a lawyer. And all of this was happening while in English and verbally, physically, they were super nice, super polite. And the moment you get out, they start talking shit. I cannot guarantee this is happening for every Korean you meet, and I generally think like in peer-to-peer relationships, maybe they are super nice, but this was actually traumatizing because, you know, I'm the type of guy that doesn't think that much. If you say you're nice, I'm gonna trust you and be like, oh, he/she/them, they is a nice person. I'm not gonna doubt you. Not the right thing to do here. At first I thought the city is not walkable, and that's very grey and Soviet, but this was actually just because of winter and early spring, and that I didn't know But the city is actually super walkable. You have bridges that connect everything. You have nice walking path. The city is super colorful right now because there's the cherry blossom season, and there are so many people outside. There are nice areas where you can do picnic. Of course, it's going to be much less than cities from Europe, and it's still very car dominant. Like it takes 3-4 minutes to wait for the light just so you can cross. And I feel a bit weird because there are CCTVs everywhere. There are fucking CCTVs on top of the mountain. Cannot take a shit without the government knowing. What the fuck?
No, why this way? Why this way?
Not that I want to do anything, let's say, dirty, but it just feels like a Truman Show. Like, I don't know, literally the Matrix, where you have no room to breathe. Another thing that had a big impact on me was the consumerism. There are a lot of places selling cheap stuff here, a lot of flea markets. There's a lot of fashion, a lot of useless objects you can buy for like €1. It's so easy to fill your space with things you actually don't need. I managed to resist this quite well, but I'm buying much more than I do back in Europe because it's super convenient, and also just because everybody does it. So as much as I try to stay within my values, I realized through this trip that it's super easy to be caught in a flow that's not yours, and you are the sum of the people that surround you. I could see this, for example, with my friends here. I study a bit less than I would do at home, chase my goals a bit less than I would do at home. And this is not bad because I managed to rest a lot, and you work, but the work is okay, it's not too tiring. You don't have to travel as much as I have to do back home every day, go to this city, go to Paris, blah, 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 blah. I do my stuff, I study a bit, I work out, I work, and then I have my free time and I just spend it with my friends. And this is good, but this also meant waking up later than I normally do. I've been waking up at 6 for maybe the last 3 years, maybe even earlier than 6. So when you go to bed at like 1, 2, you're gonna feel it because your body is still gonna wake up at 6 and it's gonna be like, what the fuck? So last week, as you can hear probably, was tiring as shit. So goddamn tiring. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun. I am very happy that I've got to spend time with humans without thinking, this is not bringing me closer to my goals. You know, just playing some cards, playing games, going for a walk, going for some food outside. Something I also don't do at home, but it's cheaper, much cheaper. So I actually, you know, it doesn't affect my budget. But I'm also not eating as clean as I would do at home. But it was great. I feel like emotionally I changed a lot. I feel healed. Like I managed to rest and not always try to think in terms of time management and productivity. You know, I took my time to just go in the park and chill like this in the sun. It was enough, and I actually feel like I want to get back into my flow and into my objectives. I have some stuff to deal with for my modeling career. There are a lot of clients that are actually waiting for me in Milan, and they texted my agent, and I'm kind of stuck here. And I'm like, this is not fear of missing out. This is knowing that you are missing out on money, good brands, good career, good momentum, good connections in a country that doesn't treat you as nice. Because my experience with my agency, it was awful. It was super polite, but actually what the fuck is happening in the back? It's just honestly traumatizing. Something else I find super interesting is that it's the first time I live in a country that's not dominated by Google. They don't use Google services, they use Naver and Kakao. And as somebody studying cybersecurity and being a bit worried, let's say, about the tech giants, I found this super cool to see how it feels to live with alternatives, because sometimes I feel like, what am I going to use if Google is gone one day? But we can just use other things, no? But the most important thing that changed me here is valuing my friendships. I made some really, really good friends. Few of them are native. I haven't been trying enough actually to meet locals, also because I just wanted to rest and I didn't want to think that much. But I made some really, really good friendships. It was great to not have to think in terms of how worth is this friendship for me, not trying to rationalize everything and just be like, okay, I'm Romanian, you're Russian, my country hates your country, but I can actually listen to your perspectives and we play some cards. And I actually started learning Russian because it's not as difficult as I thought once you get the alphabet out of the way. I mean, it was actually super cool because there was, me, European, Russian, Chinese that are victims of propaganda, and super cool to see, first of all, my friends realizing things because it's the first time they actually got out of their country. So at some point I was speaking with my friend from China. I showed with Google Translate, blah, blah, blah. We were speaking about stuff. And at some point I showed the word democracy. And he said, what? This is the first time I actually hear about this. And, it just puts things into perspective. And, I have realized I have a very generalizing brain. For example, I used to hate the majority of Russians just because Romania is close to Ukraine and Ukraine is being fucked right now as we're speaking. But it's not the fault of my Russian friend, so I don't have to hate him for no reason. And maybe he doesn't even agree. Maybe he just doesn't know. I managed to learn the Korean alphabet, kind of an easy language, especially after you learn the alphabet. It has a similar pronunciation to Romanian, actually, so a lot of sounds I can use from there. And the rest is just memorization. The grammar is a bit complicated, but it doesn't take much time to get used to it once you strip out the courtoisie, the polite way of speaking. It makes much more sense.
Hay un lugar donde van a estar todos los que alcanzaron. Hay muchos
integral. Aquí tenés que 이곳에서 우리 아미 여러분들을 만날 생각하니?
Okay, live reaction. Yes, let's stay. C'est incroyable.
I need the whole world to show it's fucking this kid on the phone. I got my eyes on the
Yeah. What did you say? What did you say?
What did you say?
What did you say? Can you say?
What did you say?
He said Dilo.
What the fuck?
He said he doesn't think they're beautiful.
I don't know you, bro. I don't know you.
You're jealous. Because you're not Korean.
What the fuck? I mean, they are, but not this beautiful.
I actually went to a BTS concert and that was cool to see. I used to really hate K-pop, never listened to it. I was just hating it because it's mainstream and I act like a hippie mysterious guy, so it's part of my personality. But it was actually quite cool, and after this I actually searched for more K-pop. I've been using TikTok here to post, meet people, and I actually got some influencer deals that I had to deny. But maybe I'm gonna do some stuff with this. Story for later, another video, stay tuned. I asked for K-pop recommendations and I listened to some albums back to back. It's actually not that bad. And while I don't really like K-pop, I fucking love K-hip-hop. It can be so good. There's just a new genre I'll put on my like list. Another thing that's very cool here is the gaming culture. League of Legends, the game I grew up with that I wasted half of my life on. And this is also the bad thing. There are some places here called PC banks that are basically some very cheap PC cafes. My friends play League of Legends, so actually, guess what? Ended up playing League of Legends much more than I wanted to. Bought an account on Japanese servers because actually they control everything, the government here, even your League of Legends account. So actually need a local ID card in order to get a League of Legends account, which sucks ass. But I've been playing much more than I need to. This leads to me sleeping not well, and I can see it's very easy to bring back an old addiction. I stopped playing video games maybe in 2022, 2023, 3 years that were much better for the simple fact that I stopped playing video games and wasting my life. Another problem here is that it's harder to be vegetarian, especially if you go for cheap, affordable stuff from convenience store and so on. Veggies are so expensive. Fruits are expensive as shit and I don't understand why. Eggs are okay. The rest, you know, like if you want to get like a gimbap or a onigiri or whatever from the convenience store, it's so goddamn hard to find something vegetarian that's not full of chemicals, shit, you know, like instant noodles. Like if you actually want something that looks like food that is not going to give you cancer in like 2 weeks, it's kind of hard. Seoul offers some really, really good hikes, some really, really good nature, some really, really good views. They have nice architecture. I've been enjoying my time here so much. I might seem drained because I'm very, very tired, but it's actually the most beautiful period I lived in my life. That's stuff for my brain that I'm still processing. I feel like I lived 4 months in this month. Everything is going great. The context just reveals stuff I have to deal with. Another super cool thing here is that government blocked porn usage. I'm a person that was before addicted to pornography and I don't have the best relationship to this. It's such a release when you don't have to make a choice. You have no option to use porn, so therefore you won't use it. Let's say you are addicted to alcohol. There's no alcohol. You're no longer addicted. It was very good for how selfish I used to be with my money. Before, I would never pay for somebody or pagare alla romana, you know, like when everybody just pays equally. I would like to pay just for what I bought. But since coming from West Europe to here is kind of affordable and I would still stay within my US Europe budget, sometimes I would actually pay for everything. I was cooking a lot for my friends because they don't know how to cook in the small kitchen we have here. Not think about money, just think about like, I want to have a good experience. I want my friends to try Romanian or Italian food and that's it. And I didn't feel guilty. And this is something I'm super happy to bring back home for my friends. I feel like most of the time I can easily be a piece of shit. You know, I listen to my friends and I think I do a very good job, you know, to be like physically and emotionally there. But sometimes when it comes to money, I'm a piece of shit and I'm very happy to change this. Of course, I'm a piece of shit because I didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I'm just trying to, you know, like build a base. So sometimes this needs sacrifice and so on. But it's good to bring me back a bit, you know, like from an extreme state of saving. I don't have to live in a fight or flight mode all the time. Speaking of useless stuff, I bought this game. It was €1. It's like a Uno, but called a 9 with Pokemon. But the context has such a big impact on you. After my first month here, I can say I could definitely live a very, very good life here and stay long term if I learn the language. I can see the opportunities. I'm a bit biased right now because I just got the bad news of discovering what my agency really does. But overall, I love Korea so much. The friends that I made, the locals, I only had positive experiences. Maybe it's not the way Koreans do business in general. Maybe it's just the consequence of fashion and how fashion does business in general that I have, you know, like I'm kind of like being scammed on the rates and on the contract and agreements people did in between each other. Pero tutto pasa. Everything is going to be okay. Everything, you know, as long as I'm healthy, it cannot be that bad. So I'll see you next week.